So there's a dual existence that individuals that have this shade of God or varying shades have to deal with on a daily basis that others do not understand. I remember we were going someplace up to West Palm Beach to see a friend, and we got lost, and we ended up in this town that literally had one stoplight, and everything was on. There was the gas station, the 7-Eleven, and something else, and OMG. I literally called someone. I said, this is where we are. It's 5:30. If you do not hear from us by 7 o'clock, send help. That's something that many that do not look like me can understand. It was very clear that we were not welcome there, even though we were lost. And it was very clear that you don't want to be there after sundown. You just don't know what's going to happen. This is in the state of Florida. This was only 5 years ago.
Ariel, can I say something? You know, we think this is 2016, and I've heard it, you know, when I was growing up or in the 80s, why are black people so angry? Slavery ended, you know, 250 years ago, but can I say that we are not far removed from this thing, people? We're just not. You know, the Segregation Act ended, what was it, 1964? And then just think about how many years it takes to change your mindset. You know, so just by the beginning in the 80s, you know, people just started, you know, changing their mindset a little bit. So we have to keep that in mind, that we're not far removed from when people began to be integrated into society, into school systems, right? So,
you know, I don't believe it's a coincidence, just even before all this, you know, just in our culture just was brought to the forefront. The remaking of Roots came out, and then recently, Wendy and I actually went and watched it. I'm not a movie recommender, by the way, but I'm just being transparent here. We went and saw Free State of Jones, true story about a white Mississippian man and you know, what happened through his life. And I wept in that movie. Obviously, these things go way back. You know, Islam, this is a whole other discussion. That goes all the way back to Ishmael and the rejection there with you know, Abraham. But how do we now, as this generation, deal today with these deep-rooted issues that, you know, we weren't necessarily a part of, but yet we're facing the consequences? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think the first thing is, and I think you mentioned this when you opened, is being willing to listen. But before we can listen, there's really two prerequisites there. I think the first thing is to be honest about what's actually happening. I think we're in an age where everyone has the capacity to be a photojournalist. So things that did not make the 7 o'clock news now will trigger a buzz on your cell phone, where we can't deny what's really going on. In addition to that, before you can listen, I think you have to care enough to listen. So you have to care enough to listen, and then you have to listen enough to understand, and then you can understand enough to act. And when we act enough, we'll see transformation and change in our communities and our societies. So in our generation, really, we have to be honest about what's going on, and we have to be willing to listen to each other